we're going to enhanced marketing and revenue management strategies for increased profitability. Another panel, and this one will be moderated by Holly McHugh. She's Marketing Director at Net Affinity. So please welcome Holly McHugh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. I think everyone's had, well, we certainly had a great day so far, so hopefully we can keep you going for the next little while. I'm honoured here to be joined by Jodie, Ina and Liz. They'll just introduce themselves in a minute. But yeah, we're here today to talk about marketing and revenue strategies for increased profitability. And we have some absolute experts here, so it's a privilege to have met them and got to know them over the last few weeks preparing for our chat here today. So, Jodie, you might just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jodie Wilson, Commercial Director for Career Hotels. We've got 9 hotels in Scotland and 1 in the Lake District. I head up revenue, sales, res and distribution. Previously to that, I've worked in some of the well-known brands, but primarily I've worked more for independent hotels, so I'm flying the flag for the independent. That's me.
Hi, my name is Liz Callaghan and I'm Director of Revenue with Cheval Collection. We operate 13 properties, either owned or managed, across London, Edinburgh and now most recently Dubai. I've been with Cheval for just under 10 years. I'm responsible for and look after revenue, distribution, reservations and a lot of the commercial side of the business. Previous to that, I've worked a lot in London around hotels. Some people might know Bowman Hotels when they were. That's where I was. I grew up for about 15 years in various different roles. But yeah, that's my background.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inna. I'm Head of Revenue at the Lanesborough Hotel. So it's a luxury, quintessentially British hotel located in Hyde Park Corner in London. We're part of Erdke Collection. It's a collection of 12 masterpiece hotels, very much celebrating the destination, dotted all over the world. And I've now been in hospitality over 15 years with probably doing all the operational roles there are in the hotel. And the past 5 years I've been in revenue management, and my passion, my expertise lies in luxury segments, revenue management, having worked for the companies such as Bulgari Hotels and Resorts, Four Seasons, and now Erdke Collection.
Super. So lots of experience between them. And yeah, my name's Holly McHugh and I'm the Marketing Director at Net Affinity. So we're booking engine, marketing and web design, and we work with our clients like independent resort and group hotels to work with them basically to drive their direct bookings and use our technology and using our services and our advice and expertise. So yeah, hopefully we'll bring you a good panel today. So I think we'll get started. So I suppose revenue management is obviously evolving. Some would say it's on a journey of evolution. You know, it's definitely kind of changing. You know, a lot of revenue managers are now commercial directors, commercial managers. So it's definitely evolving in terms of the function of the role, bringing profitability into the role and into the core of what it is. But also likewise, marketing's doing that. I think it's probably maybe done it a bit faster, you know, marketing strategies, technology, the tools, you know, it's extending to loyalty, CRMs, Review Pro tools, you know, so, you know, the whole kind of landscape of revenue management and marketing has evolved so much and it's on a massive journey. You know, Jodie, how, as a hotelier and managing a group of hotels, do you make sure that then, you know, your revenue teams, your marketing teams, but also other teams within the hotel don't work in silos and that they all come together to be profitable?
I think it is a hard challenge for the industry. I know there's been a lot of change, I'd say, since the pandemic. So at Career, we're a small team, so we're a small central team of marketing, a couple in marketing, a couple in revenue. We've got CRO outsourced. We are recruiting at the moment because we've just taken on another 3 hotels, but we are small. So we've had to be agile and we've had to adapt since the pandemic. So I came on board as group revenue manager and then was given the promotion to commercial director because we knew that we were missing that link. You know, my role is to make sure that everyone knows kind of what the you know, the P&L, we'll go through the P&L reviews to make sure that marketing understand the cost of acquisition for the business, to make sure that the strategies we're setting are in line with the profit that we need to achieve. It's difficult because I think marketing and revenue, we are specialists in our own right, but I think revenue has to lead the way with the numbers. We need to make sure that everyone from the teams on the ground to the marketing team understand that we do need to adapt and be agile. We can't just stick to a plan. There is a sense sometimes in marketing that there's a plan and we have to stick to it. However, we need to stop, take a step back and look at what we need to do to get the hotel to make profit. It's a challenging time at the moment. It has been challenging in the last 4 years. It's worked for us though because we are sharing data. We're in a team now where there's different data points for marketing and revenue. We work with different systems, but now we're a more cohesive team. We actually have all this data set together. We can look at it in one format instead of duplicating reports, so we're a lot more efficient. You can make decisions quicker, we can adapt to the trends quicker. So to me, in our portfolio, it's key to driving profit because it's efficient.
Yeah, and there's no point, like you say, like sometimes you can just follow a plan in a marketing plan, but then maybe not talking and seeing what the data is telling you, how to adapt day to day from a revenue perspective.
Because we know we do a budget and we do a business plan every year, but that doesn't always come to fruition. So we
the last few years would tell us that.
Exactly. And I am, as my CEO will say, I always highlight the risk. Sometimes the voice of doom, but I highlight the risk because there's opportunity there. We need to do something about it and react now, and not just think that the plan that we have in place will deliver those numbers when we see the risk. So I do think it's key that we work together. We do a lot with the teams on property as well. I mean, Adrian, who asked the question earlier on, is providing our new RMS for us. And as part of that, we are we've taken some of the training. Janelle does the training for revenue and goes to the hotel and does the basics of revenue management with the teams, which is we're going to do that for the chefs and F&B, and anyone can attend that course to actually understand what they can deliver. That everyone is responsible for revenue in a hotel, and it's not just someone who sits with a spreadsheet changing rates. It's more to it than that. It's about the incremental revenue. It's about, it covers it's so wide.
Yeah. And that gives them context as well. If they see decisions or changes happening, they understand because maybe they've had that training, or they understand the real reason. They're not just...
They have a buy-in to it as well, though. I mean, we've talked a lot about technology today, and we've talked about it when we've chatted. And it's key that the teams are involved, from the troops on the ground to even to the board, to understand what systems we're going to use and how they talk to each other and how they're going to drive efficiencies in the business, because efficiencies drive profit. So it's a no-brainer really to everyone to sit together and work out what systems we need to use and what technology and what training, and cross-train marketing with the PMS. One thing I've noticed is marketing never really know how to use the PMS in the portfolios I've worked, so we are trying to change that now so they can see maybe the challenges at reception, how we're capturing data. We send an email to say your data capture this month is poor, but sometimes there's reasons behind that. And if everyone understands the technology we have and the challenges that the team have on property as well, we can then as a group team formulate a plan to support them with that.
Yeah, so true. Ina, what do you have to say on this?
I think it was quite sobering today to hear Catherine Hotstad's mention about, despite all of our efforts with growing revenue, on 2019, profitability has not recovered to 2019 levels yet. And I think that just gives you an idea of where we need to focus on. We are working 3 times as hard to convert our top line into bottom line. And so from that side, I guess the question is, what is the cost of not aligning your marketing and revenue strategies together? Well, the cost of that is, first of all, you are potentially jeopardizing your marketing spend, and you end up in 2 departments pulling in opposite directions. A good example of that is, let's say you agree on running a promotion, and then revenue manager decides to close this promotion because, well, we've got enough base business, we now need to build up our bar business, and doesn't communicate that to digital marketing. Digital marketing still spending that money, running that promotion that is not bookable. So I think that there is a direct cost to the business for not having the 2 departments aligned together. Another example I have is you can, with inefficient distribution landscape, jeopardize, again, your marketing efforts. When you invest money into meta search, or you invest money into your even direct website, all it takes is to Google your business, and you will have a rate leak somewhere in the order, and then you're driving with your distribution landscape, that traffic away from the website. And again, you're just spending money, but not actually converting anything. So I think the cost of not having the two departments aligned is massive. And so it is absolutely a priority. The one thing I would say is the absolutely first step for me is to align KPIs for the both departments, because that's something that we have marketing and revenue being assessed and working towards completely different KPIs a lot of the time. So if we're talking about profitability, before we do anything that is going to affect profitability, we need to be able to measure it. So for me, things like GoPar, net ADR, net RevPAR, all these, whatever is suitable for your business as well, because there will be different businesses that will have different KPIs that are suitable for them. So yeah, no, it's a big priority for us at the Lanesborough to focus on profitability, and for sure conversion has been harder and harder to get through with increased costs. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not something that you can change overnight either, that kind of culture of silos and different departments. It's just something that needs to evolve over time, isn't it? Yeah. I think the KPIs is a key part to it, because if you have collective KPIs, you need to come together and see how they're performing.
They need to be underpinned by data as well. So
yeah.
the KPIs and the budgets and the plans all need to be data-driven.
Yeah, certainly. Liz, at the end of the day, I suppose it comes down to what works for your property. And, you know, even here today, we've 3 very experienced people all working with 3 very different products and brands. Do you know, have you any examples of what's worked for you, or maybe what even hasn't worked, or what you'd love to do in terms of this topic?
So like with revenue, the way the role has changed so much over the years, I do believe the marketing role has also changed so much over the years. Like I can remember going back, you wouldn't even probably see marketing team, and their role has changed so much. And I believe now, if anything, revenue and marketing are working probably more closer together as one team to deliver not just top line, but also the profitability to business. And it actually, when you're looking at the strategies and setting the strategies for revenue and marketing together, it's actually gone beyond the basic rate or the picture of a room or the product or the channel that you're choosing. It's more driven by the customers and what their expectations are. And we spoke earlier, I think it was Mark who was saying earlier from BDO, how complex our customers have actually become. And that's great, because we're actually rising to the challenge of all of that. And they want the personalization, they want the experience, I think Jerome and Thomas were alluding to, of everyone's available income at the moment. People are wanting the services, they're wanting the experiences, they're wanting to build those memories. And that's where hospitality is really winning at the moment. So when we look at all of that and what the personalization with the customer and what they're expecting with marketing, it's more, as we say, go beyond the room. It's like looking at you know, clients can be booking from anywhere over the world, and it's what they are expecting to see on content and imagery. And gone are the days they just want to see a picture of a room. They want to actually visually see that room, be in the room, go around a video in the room. They want to see, you know, you'd have a floor plan of a room, and actually now it's right, where is that furniture based? With the luxury service departments, obviously we've got kitchens, lounges, bedrooms, we could have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. So they want to see the flow of those apartments. So we've introduced software to drive business directly and through all channels for customers to be able to, you know, be in the room, go into see the different parts of it. So that's what they're expecting. And with that, one of the key strategies to drive revenue for the properties is very much using not just the social channels, but more how effective our influencer strategies are on the properties, because you know, they have got millions and millions of followers around the world. So working with marketing and revenue together, we encourage top influencers to come and stay, experience the product, then suddenly the images go on Instagram, and then your customers coming back and saying, actually, I want to book that room, the one that actually overlooks Tower Bridge, or I want to look at that one that looks over Edinburgh Castle. So it's really then just engaging your customer more. And then tied in with all of that would be then rewarding our customers, working very closely with marketing that we've developed members programs. And loyalty is a word that can be used in lots of different ways. And, you know, even the supermarkets at the moment, everyone's coming out with loyalty special rates if you're a loyal member. But it also applies to hospitality. So we have a very strong members book direct program, which we reward the customers with, and that very much then helps to drive the profitability of the business. The other aspects are also, when you're looking and building up the strategies, is really like looking at all of the channels, because you know, everyone's business will be a different percentage of international and direct, but Booking, which books to, dare I mention, an OTA, Booking.com or an Expedia, and they might book for 7 nights or 10 nights or whatever, compared to one person who might be booking from the UK directly. That booking actually from the OTA is going to be more potentially profitable than somebody who's booked on a one night directly or whatever. So it just depends on where that strategy is. And then also one of the other aspects of what we look at is, you know, don't be afraid not to follow the norm. So like this is like a month at the moment, everyone will be receiving Black Friday emails, I'm sure, all over the place. But like me, I'm sure you just go delete, 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 delete. So, you know, marketing team, a few months ago, when we were planning Q4, we were talking about Black Friday. I said, really, do we really want to do this sort of messaging around Black Friday? If anyone's like me, I just delete the email. So we called it not, you know, different wording and sort of bucking against the trend of not the Black Friday. So I think between both working so closely together, it's key with the profitability of driving the business. As I say, it's got closer and closer over the years, I believe.
Yeah, and I think especially like in luxury service apartments, you probably have some very key different personas and customer types, you know, from families to corporate to, you know, leisure, like, you know, do you segment all of that then within these strategies?
Yeah, and we're a bit spoilt with all the data we have these days. Yeah, we're really spoilt for choice. I did like Susan's comment earlier about referring it to like sugar. Yeah. That was really good. And we are spoilt, and it is using that data to segment your customers. And we can actually with marketing, we can help direct of what clients are booking from what countries, what segments they might be booking, what room types they're booking, what sort of length of stay, and we can give them real direction so that then we can use our marketing spend more accurately across that. And then also using the marketing with OTAs, and there I mentioned it, but you know, they've also got great programs. They give us the international exposure as well. They've got certain VIP programs that we can use, which again delivers higher return for the properties. Yeah, it's just looking at what the right guest is at the right time for the business.
Yeah.
Just to add on that point as well, I think this is where actually independent hotels and smaller chains have some leverage over international chains when it comes to booking engines, for example, because if you know some of the bigger names out there, particularly with brands that have a mixed bag of brands that are from budget to luxury, the luxury companies are restricted as well in what they can embed in the actual website. So again, not naming names, but some of those big international companies, if you look at their booking engine, if they look at the website, it's crap, pardon my French. It's terrible. It's terrible. So this is when actually some of the best experiences I myself have as a booker on the website. So those smaller independent, either small chain or an independent hotel. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom for independent hotels. There's definitely a lot of leverage. You can get things done much quicker. And again, you're not there, you have closer to your marketing departments. It's not that marketing decisions are made by somebody in a head office, you know. Obviously it is trickier when you work for brands with chains. You know, you are sometimes separated with distance through the marketing teams and make key decisions for your websites, for your property. So, but it's just something that we have better leverage on as an independent.
I agree, and what you've just said as well is about the OTAs. You know, they are the devil, but they're also, you know, very much needed. And for us, as an independent company, we use them, especially Expedia, to support us in the US, and it's really helped. It's, you know, it drives average, you know, a longer average length of stay, higher spend on property, and we can't get that direct ourselves. And we're also using the GDS now. And again, for maybe someone sat in an independent hotel thinking it wouldn't work for them, for us in Scotland, it's now 10% of our mix of business, and that is leisure as well. And it's less commission, it's higher length of stay, higher average value. So there's things that we can leverage for independent hotels more than maybe you can do in a big brand. So.
And that's the point, isn't it? You have to choose what's right. So, you know, you can have the textbook, but you have to adapt. And I think independent hotels have so much choice. You don't have, you know, you use the right piece of technology, you adapt your buyer journey to your personas, and you create the experience you want to create, you know. So especially if you have other things to sell, spa and restaurant, and you add it in, you know, look at the whole kind of maximizing the revenue across the guest experience rather than just the bedrooms, you know. So yeah. Just in terms of, you know, the people part, like obviously the strategies and the technology, it's all great, but at the end of the day, it's down to the people, you know, that are behind. So whether that's reservation or in your revenue team or through, you know, across the hotels. And I know we mentioned at the start about training, and you know, you're talking about how Janelle does the training, but you know, from your experience that you've had over, you know, 13 years, I think you said, you know, why is it so important to have them ambassadors, them revenue ambassadors across the hotel?
Yeah, I always talk about the fact that actually for profitability, the most underutilized resource that we all have at our disposal is our people. And I see that as an employee, and I see that as a guest in hotels as well. Because what happens very often is we've got commercial strategy meetings that are attended by heads of departments, head of commercial departments, sales and marketing team. It's great if you've got some representation from operational departments. Doesn't happen always. If you already have HODs from operational departments in your commercial meetings, you're already a step ahead of a lot of other hotel businesses. But we don't have our reservations agents there. We don't have our guest services, our butlers team. We don't have our you know, frontline staff that are actually the ones that are dealing with the guests. So my question is, how do they get to know what your strategy is? How is the person serving somebody a meal in the restaurant? How do they know which meal they should be recommending? Because that's the most profitable meal for them to be recommending to a guest. How does your spa team know whether they should be booking one guest for a 2-hour treatment or 2 guests for 1-hour treatment? What is the most profitable for you? So this is something that it's the communication or commercial communication piece that I think a lot of the time is underutilized in hotels, because at the end of the day, we can sit and discuss strategy for a long time and come up with the most, you know, intricate and smart strategy there is, but if our frontline team are not aware of it, they don't know how to utilize it, how to bring it to life, then it's all pointless. And again, revenue managers and properties sit at absolutely a gold mine of data, but if that data is not translated into insight, it's not translated into action for the team that is at the front line speaking to the guests, it's all for nothing. Similar to feedback from guests, because we need to be able to listen to our guests. And yes, it's all nice and well to have supported review sites, but sometimes with our guests, somebody who's paying £20,000 a night for a suite, do you think they're going to go on TripAdvisor and leave a review? No. They're going to tell the butler how they feel. And that's the reality of the luxury world, is that, you know, I need that team to feed back to me the value for money that guest is receiving, any feedback they're getting. So absolutely, we need our staff team members to drive the profitability.
I would really agree with that. I think all of our teams on the ground are just so important. They are like our revenue, reservations, marketing arm extensions. So, and we talk about total revenue, we talk about total profit, and I think we were talking earlier about how important to capture as much revenue out of that individual customer or guest when they're at the property. And our teams on the ground are so important for that. And it's really also then talking them through and understanding actually, you know, the profitability of the basic grassroots of a P&L and conversions and cost of acquisitions of certain type of bookings. And the food and beverage element as well. So I think it's all very, very important. Our people should be in line with that.
We need to give them the technology too to deliver it. We've talked, I think a lot of people have talked about it today, and taking away the manual tasks and giving them time to be with the guest so they can listen to the guest, see, you know, if it's a birthday, if it's a wedding, pick up on that instead of just sat there checking in and just head down and just constantly doing the manual tasks. We need to, as leaders of the commercial element, we need to make sure that we're giving them the best that they can do their jobs. And it's one of my biggest passions is the teams on property, is we can sit in our ivory tower sometimes and we don't actually understand what's going on the ground, and you know, we need to give them the best chance to succeed as well.
Yeah, and the context of it as well, you know, for them to say, okay, well, I need you to collect 70%, whatever your KPIs are, but for them to understand why.
You need to know why we're asking this, and you know, do it when you're on property with them. You know, be there, be present.
Yeah.
It's like just showing them and making them understand why we ask for certain data. Like, you know, we were talking about nationalities earlier, so the importance of capturing that sort of data, and then how we use that from a revenue angle, how we use that from a marketing angle. And if it isn't accurate or whatever, you know, we're looking at the data and making decisions on that. So we're really relying on them as a cold face to make sure that that data and using the systems correctly. And then showing them what we use the data for and the reports and
the results.
So that they can understand actually what they do, how that does feed into overall strategies that we're building.
Yeah.
So one of the examples I can give just recent, how we kind of, you know, implemented a change that resulted in increased profitability. We started inviting front office to our representatives. Front office doesn't have to be director of rooms, front office manager, people that are closer to the guests, to our strategy commercial meetings, and showing them, you know, your booked versus stayed room type data, you know, where you can see, okay, how many upgrades are you making, how many upsells, you know, how. So inviting them over, then plus setting good upsell targets that are realistic, incentivizing them the upsell targets, having conversations around how do you upsell, why is it important? Because essentially it's enhancing guest experience. You know, we have upsell that is serving the business purpose, but actually upsells are there for the guests to have a better experience in the hotel. And as a result of that, this year, for example, we've seen 72% year-to-date increase in room revenue upsells that front office has generated versus last year. This is the impact it has to bring an operational department in, having this conversation. And a lot of the time, they'll open your eyes about something that you don't even realize, because again, we're sitting in the offices, we don't get exposure to guests. Something is maybe unrealistic, or, you know, so there's a lot of benefit in getting all of the operational departments, or at least the ones that are relevant, into those conversations.
They also help in marketing campaigns though. So, you know, we put all these amazing campaigns out and we wonder why they're not working, and we don't necessarily get the data on why they're not working, but the teams on the phone are trying to sell, and they need to feed that back so then we can adapt those campaigns. There's no point, as we say, spending money with the digital campaigns and so on if they're not working for a reason, if we can change that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's also using the tech to help them by using, like, if there are customers who'd like to do online check-in or pre-registration, because actually then you can capture all that data from them there straight away. Then that can go straight through to marketing to help build the strategies of countries, nationalities, mix, families, couples, pets.
Yeah. Earlier we were talking about, you know, you were talking about working 3 times harder than 2019. Obviously a lot is changing, like in terms of, you know, growth in certain markets. The US really coming back, but also like not necessarily new markets, but growth in markets like China and stuff. Like, how do you manage that then with your people and your resources, Liz?
For us, very much, you know, people speaking different languages as much as possible, so they can relate and engage with the customer straight away. So we try and ensure that we have like a really good mix of languages across the properties. Particularly for our top producing countries. So.
Yeah, how does that impact then kind of your strategies in terms of your channels, or, you know, does that make you use the OTAs more?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because use the China one for an example. So no matter how much the front desk will engage with the customers, the Chinese will book one way. They will sit up in their apartments and still book for the next day, and it'll just be booking on trip.com. And no matter what you do as a front desk to try and engage that and to break that down, Mandarin speaking or not, that's just the way they do it, because obviously it's the trust nature of the way that they want to transact business. So, yeah, it's growing market, but that's where you just need to adapt to it.
Adapt your strategies, to fit the market. Okay, very good. I think we try and wrap up a little bit and then see if we have any time for perhaps a Q&A. Would that be good? So I don't know if you had any takeaway points, if you...
Yeah, I can start with it. I think the main takeaway for me today was to quote Harry Murray earlier, saying that the people are the heartbeat of our industry, and I think that it's nice and easy to get excited about things like AI and the new tech tools and the new toys that we get to play with. But at the end of the day, you know, we mustn't forget good old leadership. And I think that, this is essentially what's going to have the biggest impact on your profitability. And all the tools that are coming in, all the automation and, again, AI tools and Eva, which was quite freaky earlier on there. But essentially, this is all there to allow us to spend more time with our teams. To really drive that profitability for, again, effective leadership. And for me, that's the key. We sometimes overcomplicate things, but actually it's as simple as we need to give, the core of hospitality is services provided by people, for people. And so we mustn't lose, I think, sight of that.
Super. And Liz?
Yeah, for me, it's more how the profile of our customers and our guests being already totally centric to what we do is just raising to another level. And I think all the presentations we saw this morning showed that people's choice on disposable incomes and things like that are to spend in hospitality. The restaurants, you can't get a restaurant on a Friday or Saturday night in London unless you book weeks in advance. So people are, they're wanting to support our industry, which is amazing. And I think as operators and owners of properties, we need to rise to that challenge as much as possible, because at the end of the day, we want that customer to keep on coming back and being a repeat customer, because at the end of the day, that's just going to keep making us more profitable from all angles, top line, bottom line. So yeah, that's my main takeaway.
Very good. Jodie?
Quite similar to Inna, a lot of it is about the people, but also in a couple of the workshops I went to today, loyalty was brought up quite a lot, and I know it's a big subject, and it's something that after today I'm taking away and I want to kind of look into a little bit more. So at Carrera we have guest loyalty rates. It's just a mechanism we put in about 9 months ago, just to try and get guests to book direct to the OTAs, and it's actually about 22% of our website revenue is coming through our guest loyalty rates at the moment, and it's just a discount. So we know it works, and now it's exploring what kind of partner we can work with to kind of elevate that.
Very good. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so we're time for one question, I think.
Make it a good one. We can only have one. Who's got a... Yes, I'm on my way.
Yeah, it's really...
Hi, everybody. Tom from Edwards and Finn. I've got one question which Lynn leads into just a slight second, so I'm going to be a little bit cheeky, but have the panel got a response to one of the other panels that sort of spoke earlier with regards to the system and the revenue manager ending up being the person that's just going to basically mess it up? Because in my opinion... we weren't going to bring that up. There's always going to need to be that revenue manager, that human being, as we already know, from experience and everything else. I'd really like a response from each of the panelists on that comment and what your thoughts are on that, but also the expectation of the revenue manager. We've put so much on the role of a revenue manager over the last 5-10 years. It's now completely transformative from what it was. What do you see being the next thing, being that the revenue manager will then have to take on their remit? Thank you.
I'm happy to. Oh, do you want to do it? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to, so kind of two questions there. So I think, first of all, there's nothing wrong with breaking a system once in a while. You do have to test it and see how it works. And it's like, same as pulling apart a computer. Like, I'm sure a lot of IT folks here done that before just to see what's inside. So we're doing the same thing. We just want to see how it works. But at the end of the day, as well, I think can't underestimate proper training that you get on systems. So again, revenue managers should not be scared to reach out to their account managers and ask for that proper training, which does happen sometimes. Regarding the changing role of revenue management, I think that revenue management will now be focused more on the people element, as I said. So it's now about ability to influence, ability to drive that commercial leadership piece. It's not about sitting in the office anymore and looking at Excel sheets. That's not the role anymore now. The owners and stakeholders want that commercial presence and, again, ability to influence your departments to drive that profitability.
And just to add to that, I think that was our friend from finance that mentioned that, so I'm not sure if he's still in the room. But you know what? There's great progression in the field with the fact that AI is taking over any revenue management system. But you know what? You cannot take away the person who actually needs to interpret that data, maybe make sure that the systems are correct. You need to have that revenue management, commercial person there to be able to do that. And if anything, the role of revenue is growing and growing into these commercial roles. You know, the systems are there to support and guide. We are spoilt with systems, we're spoilt with data, but you need that human interaction. And as you say, it is actually okay to break something occasionally, because actually some of the best lessons are learned from something that goes wrong. So, yeah, that would be my view.
Yeah, very similar. My view is that the system can't coach. It can't develop someone. It can't develop an individual. We can interpret the data. We can take the data. We can explain the data to the teams. A system can't do that. And as long as you need people, you'll always need someone to interpret the data.
Yeah. Very good.
Great
Super.
question.
Great. Just on time. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Liz. And thank you, Jodie.